7 years ago, prolific art collector Kiran Nadar founded India's first private museum displaying modern and contemporary art. In its short history, the museum's influence has already proved extraordinary, and she is one of the most game-changing forces in Indian art and continues to demonstrate the power of South Asian artists globally. A major, generation-sweeping exhibition of works from Nadar's collection, titled Stretched Terrains, is currently on view at the museum. Hello and welcome to Mojarto Conversations. I'm Anu Subramanian. This week, we have the pleasure to sit down with Kiran Nadar. She's a trustee of the Shiv Nadar Foundation, and she's the chairperson of the Kiran Nadar Museum of Art. Ms. Nadar, thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
Thank you, Anu.
Of course. Now, we are here at Stretched Terrains, which is an exhibition at Kiran Nadar Museum of Art. And it's really interesting because you have paintings, but you also have architecture, and you have conceptual art and sculpture and videos. What is the crux of this exhibition?
Well, this exhibition actually is a string of exhibitions. There's 7 exhibitions in total, which we've taken 3 of the important masters, Hussain, Raza and Souza, and we've taken the period of architecture which links them, which is in the foyer of the museum, and then we've taken contemporary links to these artists. So it's all sort of linked together, but it's got both the moderns and the contemporaries, although the emphasis is on the 3 moderns.
So we have these Mojarto conversations as a way to get to know luminaries in the art world better. And of course, you are one of the most famous collectors here in India. How did you get started with collecting?
I started buying art for the home, really. I had no intention of building a collection or starting a museum or any of these. These were not thoughts that I had. But as I started getting more interested in art, the collection grew. And soon I had no wall space, and I had put things in my husband's office and various places. And I was still collecting, and then I felt that there was a paucity of places for people to view art. And I was very motivated with the New York art scene. New York has the individual collector who's put their collections out into the museum space. And I felt India needed it. It's not possible just for the government to do these things. I think individuals have a role to play.
So did you come in with an ethos for what you wanted Kiran Nadar Museum of Art to be? I mean, when we're at an exhibition like this, you might think that this is a space to really celebrate the moderns, but so recently you were hosting a show where Dayanita Singh, a great contemporary artist, was hosting a real living exhibition where she was the curator in residence as well. So you do have this nice nexus of contemporary and modern.
We do. We are quite encyclopedic in that sense. We've had retrospectives of Nasreen Mohammadi, Himmat Shah, Jairam Patel, who were all sort of part of a group in a sense. So we've done various different shows. Of course, we've done shows with Dayanita and shows where we've had the memorial of Vivan Sundaram. And it's been quite large sphere of activity.
So is that sort of your core directive, to be encyclopedic, or did you have an objective going into making this?
No, I didn't have an objective specifically. Of course, my core collection is very strongly in the moderns, because that's where I started collecting, and that's what really interested me. But as the collection has grown, I have started getting a lot of the contemporary artists as well. Also, we've looked at artists who didn't really get their due. Somebody like Himmat Shah. I think we're the first people to have a really major retrospective of his work. And of course, Nasreen Mohammadi was the first show of hers in a major show, and then that show traveled to the Reina Sofia in Madrid and the Met in New York. So that was a major event that for us.
Absolutely. The works that you are bringing in and displaying here are, in fact, affecting the way that the entire West and the entire world sees Indian art and the Indian artists who came out of that modern period. Did you think that that was going to happen as you were building this collection?
Certainly, I wanted to expose both our people and the West to Indian art. I think Indian art is very undervalued. If you look at the way Chinese art has moved, on the basis of Chinese collectors collect a lot of Chinese contemporary and modern art. Um, un- Unfortunately, Indian collectors haven't really found that calling. And if you look at a real estate um, in the West, in New York, let's say, you see $1 million apartment, there'll be art worth $2 to $3 million in the apartment.
So I have an interesting experience along those lines. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, I visited Sotheby's during Asia Week, and I fell in love with this Taya Mehta blue portrait, and I just loved it. And I ended up going to see the auction that night. I really enjoyed it. Uh, Fast forward about a year and a half, and I came here and I visited you at your office, and I saw that on the wall.
Yes.
And I remember thinking to myself, I am so envious of the person who got to take that home, but I never thought I would see it again. So it was really exciting to see that, such a great work of Indian art that had left India, you were able to bring that back. And I think that a lot of people don't realize how difficult that is to do because works like Tayyab Mehta's go for so much money abroad.
Yes. And it's something that needs to be actually encouraged to bring back works which have left India. Um, Not only in the moderns and contemporary, but look at our heritage of the miniatures and the antiquities. They were taken out illegally in most of the cases. And now to bring them back, actually, the government should give incentives to people who want to bring the miniatures back to India. They should be incentivized rather than being charged a prohibitive duty because these works certainly belong to India.
Yeah, and they're selling at so much more expensive outside of our borders,
Yes.
but there's no incentive to bring them back because
There isn't, and people who buy them would rather keep them abroad or rather than bring them back. So that incentivizing should be in place.
To talk a little bit more about this exhibition, I think that it offers this wonderful reminder that we don't speak enough about, which is that these modern artists and this modern art culture that we know so well was being developed at the same time that India was in flux. India's modern identity came at the exact same time as India's artistic modern identity. Uh, how did you guys sort of weave these together?
Um, I think there was definite linking between the two. When you look at the architectural development as well, I mean, what was happening with the architecture in India, that was also growing um, in a sense with the moderns. I think there was a linkage there as well. And the progressive art group, which was formed, I think had its roots in the modernity of India. And so it was a great evolution that timed itself with the independence movement and what was happening around the country.
You look at the architecture, and that is literally the construction of our modern identity. Buildings, in a lot of ways, are how we know cities. And what's so striking to me is now, here at the exhibition, there's this incredible section on the Hall of Nations being built. And now they're planning to demolish the Hall of Nations at Pragati Maidan.
I know it'll be very sad if it's demolished. Actually, there was quite a lot of public criticism of that, and I think there have been people on various social forums who have been saying that it should not be demolished. So let's see what the government decides to do. Actually, Pragati Maidan has some great institutional areas which need to be built up, and they should do something right in the center of the city. They have this really beautiful space, and they could do some great things with it, but it needn't be at the cost of demolishing some of the structures which need to be maintained.
I mean, the aesthetic is an homage to that moment.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you think that this criticism is going to lead to people changing their minds, or is the demolition going to happen?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what they're really going to do with Pragati Maidan. They want to make it into a convention area, but it's a very, very large area. And in fact, I was telling them they should give us space for a museum there, because even if you make a convention space, you need people who come who can visit art spaces. So it would be nice if they did. Of course, government is not pro doing anything like that.
Why not?
We've tried to move the government for land unsuccessfully. Of course, Delhi doesn't, even though there's lots of land there between Delhi government and central government, it's all kind of confusing. And we are very keen to build a standalone museum, but we haven't been able to find the required land that a project like that entails.
Now, my understanding is you wanted to build this third space alongside all those other major museums near India Gate, right?
Oh, I would love to, but I've given up on that. We're never going to get that space.
But if you're, providing the building, if you're offering a free public view of these incredible artworks, really, what does the government have to lose?
I don't even know how aware they are that we exist, quite honestly. The interest of the government in the museum is very small. So unless they get excited with this, it's not likely to happen. And I kind of don't think we're going to get land from the government, but we've decided that within this year, whatever happens, we must finalize a space.
That's a very big goal.
Well, I've been saying this for the last 3 years and it hasn't happened. So
2017 is the year.
Yes.
2017
Yes.
is the year. On that note, we will take a quick break. Mojarto Conversations is in conversation with Kiran Nadar. We'll be right back.